everyone, and welcome once again to Caleb Likes Books. Today I have another book review for you, and that is for Ghost Mother by Kelly Dwyer. This is a book that I just completely picked up on a whim. This was not on my TBR or anything, but I read this book because on Hoopla, which is where I get my audiobooks through my library, as well as comics and ebooks. They, at the end of every month, have like a small selection of things that you can borrow without using up your monthly borrows, because you only get a certain number of borrows each month. And this was on there. I thought it was seemed kind of interesting, something a little bit appropriate for the Halloween season, even though it's not like a horror book, but it still felt fairly appropriate. So I figured I could at least borrow it, and if I had some time before the borrow ran out, then maybe I could check it out. And so I decided to listen to it over the last couple days, and I really enjoyed this book. This was one where it's like, I went into it basically blind, other than just like reading the very brief synopsis about it, and ended up really liking it. I think this was a really enjoyable book. Definitely a big surprise for me, as far as like, going into something kind of blind and then coming out really liking it. So, as far as the good of this book, I really like how simple the premise is, but there's a lot about it that kind of makes it work very well. So the idea behind this book is you have this character, this is a first-person perspective book from the perspective of a woman named Lily. Now Lily is married, and she and her husband have been trying to have children, can't do it, either ending in like miscarriage or just, unable to have children anyway. And they move into this house, and she's like, oh, this is the house that we're finally going to have a child in. It's going to be great, and all this stuff. New opportunities for her husband, and like work and things like that. And it turns out, unbeknownst to her before moving in, this house is haunted, and is notoriously haunted because everybody else in the town knows about it, because it was the site of a murder-suicide about 50 years prior. So, and because it is haunted, she is initially very skeptical of this, but as the book goes on, it becomes very clear to her that this house is in fact haunted, and she's the only one of the two, between her and her husband, that realizes this fact, and as a result of the hauntings, she ends up wanting to learn more about the true story behind the reason why this house is haunted, because there is a lot more to it than people believe. So it's a fairly simple premise in the sense that, two people move into a house, ends up being haunted, which is a simple premise, but it really works because I think that it ties in together with a lot of other aspects to the book. So you have it works really well thematically, and it works really well like plot-wise, and it kind of, everything about this book to me kind of comes together really nicely, that premise included, and that premise like allows for all of those things to work. So you have like this kind of the haunting plotline of Lily being haunted by these people that used to live in this house, which itself is interesting. It's not like a scary book. It's a little creepy at points, but it's not like a horror book or anything. It's more just a paranormal, I would say like a paranormal mystery kind of, because she is then going out doing research, trying to figure out why this house is haunted, what actually happened there, all this stuff, and trying to uncover all these clues and this information in order to figure out like the reason behind it, in order to potentially, lay these ghosts to rest or whatever, and make things just work out nicely. On top of that, also having to deal with like personal issues, marriage issues, issues in regards to, work and all these money, all kinds of things, and all that stuff. So you have like this mystery plot of like trying to figure out what actually happened, which is really interesting to me. It was something where I was always kind of curious where things were going to go, because I could kind of see like there was enough of a breadcrumb trail for me to kind of be reading it or listening to it and be like, okay, I kind of can see where this might be going. And then, sometimes I'd be right, sometimes I wouldn't. It was really interesting. It was fun. And then on top of that, you also have the way that this book works thematically, which ties into a lot of that. There's a lot of themes about parenthood and motherhood, specifically themes about children, themes of, pregnancy, with her kind of trying to become pregnant and all these things. And a lot of interesting things regarding that. I think this is one of those books where the story really allows for a very good exploration of themes. And that, I think, is the thing outside of being interested in the plot of the book. I think the themes is what really kept me engaged in it, beyond just wondering what was going to happen next. Because I felt like that was very strong, and it made the story much more emotionally, like it made me connect to it a lot more, made it much more evocative, made it much more like, when certain things would be revealed or certain things would happen or whatever, the way the themes were integrated made me feel much more about this story, I think. So I really enjoyed the way that was done as well. I also really like the first-person perspective in this book, because it first of all, it's a first-person perspective, so you have kind of the voice of Lily, which is well done, and I enjoyed kind of getting to see the story through her eyes, which also, given that you have things like, being haunted, and, that obviously takes quite a mental toll on her, and she kind of spirals out of control a little bit over the course of the book, and so you also get, like, a little bit of, like, the wondering of, like, is this an unreliable narrator? Is it, like, how much of this is really happening? Where's kind of the line between the truth and the reality, and kind of just her going crazy or whatever, which I thought was really interesting, and I really enjoyed that about it as well. So really liked the plot of this book, really liked the themes. I enjoyed the prose, the first person perspective kind of thing, and all that stuff. I do think there was a couple drawbacks to this, which were not huge, but were things that were a little bit of issues for me, which first of all is more so, I think, the character stuff. Where I think this book is very good in terms of plot and theme, which kept me fully into the book as I was listening to it. Like I was really enjoying it as I listened to it. So this is not something where I was like detracted from my enjoyment of the book. But I didn't feel like the characters were super compelling at many points. I enjoyed the characters, I enjoyed their interactions, but this isn't like a character book for me. This is very much more a plot and theme book, rather than something where I was like, oh, I'm really into these characters. So that is one thing. The characters were not quite there for me, and looking at some other reviews of this book, which I did briefly, seems like a lot of people don't really like Lily as a main character, which I don't agree with, but I can understand. There are certain things about her that are maybe a little irritating, or can be to some people. I didn't mind it, but that could be the case for other people. The other thing that was a little weird to me about this book was actually the ending, which I can't get into, obviously, because of spoilers, but this book has a very strange ending, because it works in some ways and I think it doesn't in others. Like, thematically, it kind of fits and kind of fulfills some of the things about this book thematically and wraps up the story and all this stuff, but it also just feels weird. Like it's very surprising in a way that I liked, but in a way that I feel like is almost a little bit unsatisfying, and it was just kind of bizarre. Like the ending of this book, which again I can't talk about because of spoilers, but it's like the way this book ends kind of threw me for a loop. Like, this is how it goes? Like, that's kind of weird. Like, it just felt strange to me, and I can't really talk more about it than that. But, if you've read the book before, you probably know what I'm talking about, because there is some strange things that happen at the end of this book, like some strange choices that the author made that is like, it works, but it's weird. So that's the only other thing. Like, I liked the ending of the book for how surprising it was, for somewhat how subversive it was of how I thought things might go, and just for I think the ending for what it is well done. It's just weird. It's just a weird way to end the book. So there is that. But generally, I did really enjoy this book. In terms of like entertainment value and how much I liked listening to it, this was very high for me. Despite those couple of criticisms, I really enjoyed this book. I had a really good time with it. I was always wondering what was going to happen next. It was just very fun, very entertaining, and also just like tone-wise and everything. Like, this is a very like heavy book in terms of themes and tone. Like, it's just a very tragic, sad book in some ways, and that's something I just like that. That's something that appeals to me in stories. So it did work for me in a lot of ways. It's just, a couple things were a little bit didn't quite work for me, but I did generally really like this book. So as far as a rating out of 10 that I'd give Ghost Mother, I think I'd give it like a 9 out of 10. Like, those couple of criticisms do knock it down a little for me, but I still really enjoyed it. It was a really good time. So that's pretty much all I got for this review. Let me know in the comments if you have read Ghost Mother, what you thought of it, if so, if you haven't read it, if you're interested in reading it or anything like that. And if you have any recommendations for good, like, ghost story type books, let me know in the comments, because I think it'd be fun to read some more of them. I don't think I've really read that many. So yeah, that is pretty much it for this video. So thank you all for watching, and I will see you all next time.